Hello there, all my YouTube channel listeners. I want to welcome you today to another reading of my book, The Dichotic Dilemma, The Fabric of Life, a concept and philosophy which I use to navigate our human existence, as I found it to be a quite torturous place to be here on this earth, alive as a human being, trying to navigate the extremes of what we face in this human life. I, being someone who's hypersensitive to the travails of human existence, I felt it probably more than most. And on that note, today I came across a poem by a famous British poet, Rudyard Kipling, who a lot of people will probably know. Very famous and held in high regard in the Western world. But of course, as we know, of all figures, many figures in years gone by, there's always a stain of controversy associated with them. And so the first instinct I had when I came across this poem, If, by Rudyard Kipling, and I don't know how I'd come across it. My first instinct was to not read it, because of course I know of Rudyard Kipling as being the man who wrote the famous poem, The White Man's Burden, essentially justifying and giving philosophical and emotive credence to the colonization of black and brown people, essentially, and making a poetic argument for the justification of their colonization, and saying they were sullen people, saying they were half animal, half child. And so the duality then hits you in the face like a punch in the nose from Mike Tyson, to say, how can a man who supposedly was inspired and of high mind have been of that opinion? And of course, the popular refrain by the defenders is, well, he was a man of his time. And my riposte to such a position is to say, well, when did a human being, or when did human beings learn to be moral? Because of course we live by the birth and death of Jesus Christ in the Western world, at least, as a marker of where we are in chronological time order, 2000 BC, AD, etc. And so the proposition then is to say, during Jesus' time, he was moralizing about the rights and wrongs of certain behaviors. So then that's to say human beings had a moral compass. So if we had a moral compass 2,000 years ago, how about 400 years ago? How about 200 years ago? 100 years ago? And same, those who defend Winston Churchill will use the same refrain. Well, he was a man of his time. Well, that's less than a century ago. And equally, and so on and so forth. So, when is it right to have a certain opinion? When is it wrong to have a certain opinion? Is it 2023? Is it the year 3000? Is it 1945? We seem to be clear about the horrible nature of the Holocaust, and yet there's equivocation found when other issues are mentioned and people say, well, it's a reflection of the times. In any case, I did read the poem If by Rudyard Kipling and found it to be one of the most magnificent poems I've ever read. Beautiful, illustrative, really speaking to the deep existential nature of our reality, and really touching to a fundamental level. So clearly this was a man of deep thinking, a deep wisdom, and deep insight. And yet he also believed that other human beings were silent creatures and half devil, half child. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the dichotic dilemma, the fabric of life. And it is upon really inculcating this social or philosophical idea into my observation of existence that I started to see a new world being possible. I saw through my own dualities that held me back and constrained me and had me being an angry man and struggling in reality. And as I master seeing life through this lens, this that I offer to the world. So I will read on from where we were the last time. 1.8. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is the truth. Right knowledge is power and truth. Knowledge gives you the power to have your own mind, and having your own mind will liberate you from the grasp of those who can influence you negatively. For everyone on earth is a person, and a person is just that, a person, liable to all the traps set for us. So the ultimate knowledge is the knowledge that lets you know your own mind and gives you your autonomy of self, autonomy of purpose. And this knowledge should always be the truth. For a 21-year-old, it's quite impressive. And then that's always the next level of inquiry. How do we discern what the truth is? For that alone is prone to extreme levels of subjectivity on occasions. That is just something to ponder. So as I say in the Dichotic Dilemma, I was dissecting my poems. So then this is the next part where I reflect on the piece that I just read out. This poem is about knowledge and the truth. And I perceive the truth as being the function of balanced, open, and objective observation and deduction. The information contained in the mind is the vehicle behind action. In a world where people can kill each other based on perspective, to create a peaceable coexistence, having the right knowledge is important. Hence, I argue that the right knowledge should be the truth. Lying is the lowest form of communication because it inhibits understanding and prevents the mind from attaining the appropriate perspective. Lying is appealing to our lesser nature, to the basic survival instinct, because its function is to either evade or ensnare. Consequently, to function at a higher level of perception, the mind has to be informed of the truth, especially the perceived harsher aspects of the truth. It's through understanding and dealing with the most difficult and limiting aspects of our existence and nature that we can create a more balanced understanding of our purpose. Lying creates confusion and is a function of the basic instinct and is the negative end of the spectrum of the dichotic dilemma. The truth creates understanding and a platform for reasoned logic as a basis for understanding the more difficult aspects about that truth. It is appealing to our higher function and at the positive end of the spectrum of the dichotic dilemma. Dealing with the challenges that the truth can cause positively is how to create balance, a balanced understanding and perspective. And I suppose the point there is to say sometimes it feels as though hiding the truth is the better option. But when we face the truth, even the most horrible truths, then we actually empower ourselves because we take action on the things that we must take action on. Otherwise, it festers. And in my culture, from the Shona language, we have a saying that says, a proverb, Chinamanyanga achiputirwi, which means that something which has horns cannot be wrapped up because the horns will stick out, or at the very least, they will pierce through the wrapping. So the truth, as the Bible says, shall set you free. And as the piece says, lying, well, that's but a fool's errand. So that's the Dichotic Dilemma for today, available on Amazon, an exercise by a young man trying to figure out his reality so that he can have provide a message to the world. And now as I go into my 40th year, I finally understand what that young man was trying to say. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.